Hello, my name's Natalie from Perfectly Spoken, and I am the teacher for the A2 level. And today, this is lesson 9, and the subject is past simple 2. So in lesson 8, we did past simple 1, and so today is past simple 2. Okay, so I hope you have your notebook and your pen, because you have to do some work. Okay, so a lot of information to cover. Let's see what's in the lesson. Okay, so today in this lesson or in this class, we will do past simple, verb to be. In lesson 8, we looked a little bit at 1 or 2 examples of the verb to be in past, but today we're going to look at verb to be in the past in detail, okay? Right, and we'll look at past simple affirmative, irregular verbs, the most common irregular verbs, okay, that we use a lot, and a reminder of negatives and questions, okay? And we will use lots of practice, and you will have a dictation and 2 listenings, in fact, today. So a lot of opportunity to practice listening to examples of past simple. Okay? And at the end, of course, a quick test. Check your understanding. Okay? So, are you ready? Yes? Then let's begin. Okay. So, just a reminder, as I said in lesson 8, past simple is when we're talking about a past action that happened in a past finished time. And expressions we typically use with past simple are ones like these, like last week, last night, yesterday, 15 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 months ago, etc. Okay? And even this morning, if now is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we're quite strict about using past simple. We use it a lot when we're speaking and writing in English. So it's very, very, very useful, very important. Okay, so verb to be. Here is an example. I am from London. Here we have the verb to be in present simple, because it's a fact. I am from London. Okay? Now we have, when I was a child, I lived in London with my family. Look, here I have a photograph. Can you see that? Oh, that's me. Look, when I was a child, I think here I was, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6. So when I was a child, I lived in London with my family. Another example, he is from Spain. So we've got the verb to be in third person singular. He is from Spain, and in past simple, when he was a child, he lived in Madrid. My parents are from London, present simple. When they were children, they lived in Croydon. Okay, you can see here the name Croydon. Croydon is an area in the south of London. Okay, so let's have a look at verbs here. So we have am in present simple, was in past simple, is in present simple, was in past simple, are in present simple, were in past simple. Okay, so here you have examples of the verb to be in the past. And here I will give you now all the information. So you can see in this table, typical grammar table, you've got on the left, present, I am, you are, he is, she is, it is, we are, they are. And then in the past simple, I was, you were, he was, she was, it was, we were, they were. Notice the was is spelt with an A, but you actually pronounce it like an O sound, was. And the were, you don't pronounce the R. So it's was and were, was, were, was, were, was, were, was, were. Okay. And there are some other things to consider. So, in present simple affirmative, the verb to be, you can use a contraction. So I am becomes I'm. You are, your, he is, he's, etc. But with the verb to be in affirmative, in past simple, you can't use contractions. Okay, so you can't use contractions at all in the affirmative and negative. Later, you can see, but in the affirmative, no contractions. Okay? All right. Now, the thing about pronunciation, listen to the pronunciation of the verb to be in these examples. When I was 5, I lived in London. When she was 8, she lived in Paris. When they were children, they lived in Madrid. Okay, listen, so it's when I was. So when it's in a sentence, it goes from was to was. So sometimes it's quite difficult to hear. It's was. If you say was, that's no problem. No problem. If you say when I was 5, I lived, instead of when I was 5, no problem. But it is a problem if you say when I was 5, I lived. Then yes. No. But when you're listening, just remember that sometimes the was, we pronounce was. Very quick, was. And similarly with the were in a sentence is often pronounced were. So when they were children, so you almost can't hear it. It's like when they were children, when they were children, when they were children. Okay, so you have to practice. Again, if you say were, that's fine, like no problem at all. If you say when they were children, that's okay. But when you're listening, you have to remember that the person might say were when they were children. Okay. Right, so a lot of information, but we're going to continue. Okay, so here we go. The verb to be, it's often used with adjectives. Okay, so here in these sentences, you have an opportunity to see the verb to be used with different adjectives, okay, in the past. So just have a look at the examples, relax, read, and listen to the pronunciation. Okay, so the verb to be with adjectives. Yesterday, I was very tired because I worked a lot. I was very happy because I finished my report. He was very bored because he didn't like the film. The film was very interesting. I was very confused because I didn't understand the instructions. We were very late because the train wasn't on time. Okay, so here I'm going to highlight here the verb to be and the adjectives. Okay, so you've got the adjectives here. You've got tired, happy, bored, interesting, confused, and late. Right, so yesterday I was very tired. Oh, I was very tired, happy, bored, interesting, confused, and late. Ooh. Okay. All right. And notice here the verb. Oh, sorry. Wait. Notice here the verb to be, and we often use the word because. Okay, because to describe a reason for the situation. So, as I always say, in this language course, it's very important to try to increase the complexity of your language, okay? Because this will help your listening and understanding, and it will also help your fluency, okay? So here in these sentences, you've got past simple, an adjective, because, and then a reason, okay? So look at the sentences again. I'll read them again. Notice the pronunciation, and then we'll move on, okay? All right, so I'm going to disappear. So just listen and focus on the pronunciation. Yesterday, I was very tired because I worked a lot. I was very happy because I finished my report. He was very bored because he didn't like the film. The film was very interesting. I was very confused because I didn't understand the instructions. We were very late because the train wasn't on time. Okay, excellent. Very good. Very good. Now you can stop the video and practice repeating the sentences. Okay, so it's good practice. All right, now we're going to look at negative. So negative in the past simple, you remember in the present simple, you simply add not. So I am not, I was not. So it's exactly the same, so it's not difficult. You don't need to use an auxiliary verb like we did in lesson 8 because the verb to be is already like an auxiliary verb, so we don't use an auxiliary verb, okay? So you've got I am not, I was not, you are not, you were not, he is not, he was not, she is not, she was not, it is not, it was not, we are not, they were not. But what do we usually do with this? Well, in present, you have the contractions, and in past simple, the verb to be negative. Yes, you can use contractions. And here we have the examples of the verb to be with the contractions. I wasn't, listen to the pronunciation, I wasn't, you weren't, he wasn't, she wasn't, it wasn't, they weren't. Oh, I'm sorry, here, the we is missing. Oh dear. So it'd be they weren't or we weren't. Okay, sorry. I was doing it to make sure you're paying attention. Okay, all right, so so we've done a lot, still a lot of things to come. So now, going to look now, we've looked at past simple affirmative, past simple negative with the verb to be. What's next? Yes, questions. Okay, so let's have a look. Questions. He is British, sentence. For the question, you just change the order of the subject and the verb. So the he is changes places. Okay, so you've got he is British. Is he British? He was happy. Was he happy? Okay, so again using adjectives here as well. Okay, all right, so now let's look at some examples of first of all, some examples of affirmative sentences. Just listen to the pronunciation, okay? Here we go. Right. When I was a child, I liked running. Notice we've got verb to be and we've got a regular verb from lesson 8, liked. Yesterday, I was at work from 7:20 a.m. to 5 p.m. Last Christmas, my mother and I were ill. My hair was long last week. Last night, I was very tired. Ooh. Yesterday, it was very cold. Right, now, wait one moment. Which one is false for me, do you think? Which one is false? Which one is false? Are you thinking? Yes, this one is false. When I was a child, I liked running. When I was a child, I didn't like running. I don't like running. I never run. I really don't like running, and I didn't like running when I was a child. No. Okay. Now. So far in this class, we've looked at past simple affirmative, regular verbs. We've looked at past simple verb to be. And most common, now we're going to look at the most common, we've looked at past simple, the verb to be. So now we're going to look at, I don't know what's happening. Something's going crazy. Wait a minute, I don't know what's happening with my screen. Okay, wait. Okay, so yes, we've looked at past simple with the verb be, and now we're going to look at past simple, affirmative, irregular verbs. Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened to my PowerPoint. Went a bit crazy. Okay, but hey, that's life. Okay, so there we are. Now it's okay. Now it's calm. Right, so now we're going to look at past simple, affirmative, irregular verbs. Okay, so first of all, I'll remind you of some regular verbs. Do you remember the regular verbs that you put one ending on the verb? Do you remember? Okay, so here we have some examples from lesson 8. Travelled, walked, sailed, arrived, talked, watched. Okay. And now we're going to look at some example sentences, and I want you to see if you can identify the verb. Can you identify the irregular verb in the sentence? Let's have a look. Okay, so we've got yesterday, I got the train very early. I got up at 6 o'clock. My colleagues had lunch at 1:30. Last weekend, I went to the cinema twice. I went to the supermarket and bought some cheese. Delicious. Okay, so can you identify the past simple verbs here? They are got up, had, went, bought. But what is the infinitive of these verbs? Do you know? Here we are. Okay, so notice with the irregular verbs, the form sometimes is similar, but sometimes it's completely different. For example, go in the past is went. Buy in the past is bought. Okay, pronunciation bought. So it's very, very different. So sometimes my students, they say, oh, I don't like irregular verbs. And it's true. You have to practice a lot and you have to just remember. But the positive thing is that the verb form doesn't change. So, for example, I went to the supermarket, he went to the supermarket, they went to the supermarket, my mother, my father, my sister, my brother went to the supermarket, everybody went to the supermarket, and it's went. So, okay, it's true, you have to remember went, but it's the same. It's the same for each person. For I, he, she, it, we, they. Okay, so just remember that. Be positive. It's very important to be positive. Okay, now let's have a look. Here, so here I've got a list of the most common verbs. Okay, so these verbs on the next two slides, if you learn these verbs and you know the regular verbs, then you can speak about a lot of things. Okay, it's just practice, practice, practice. All right, so we've got go. Go in past simple, went. Have in past simple, had. Have had. Say, said. Now here, notice the pronunciation and the spelling are completely different. It's not said, no, said, so it's like an eh sound, said. Make, made. Take, took. Come, came. See, saw. Notice this one. The pronunciation and the spelling are completely different. So it's saw like door, the number 4. It's the same pronunciation, seesaw. Okay, and then know, knew. Think, thought. Leave, left. Left is the same in left and right. It's the same spelling, same pronunciation, different meaning. Give, gave. Find, found. Feel, felt. Put. This is the same. There are about, I think, a few verbs that don't change their form in past simple. Now, what do you do if you don't understand the meaning of these verbs? Well, you have to go and get your dictionary and have a look and find out the meanings. So you can go back to the slide, pause it, write down the verbs and look in an online dictionary like Word Reference, or you can look in a dictionary, a physical dictionary. Do people use dictionaries anymore? I don't know. Okay, all right, so we're going to look at some more very common verbs, all right? So yeah, you've got some very common ones: meet, tell, grow up, send, write, do, hear, speak, run, pay, buy, build, bring, break. Okay? They're not in alphabetical order because I have tried to put them in order of frequency. Okay? So here are the past simple irregular verbs. So I suggest you write down this list and you just have to learn it, practice. Okay, very good. So now, because sometimes to help you remember the verbs, there are lots of different ways you can, but some people like to put the verbs, organize the verbs into patterns. And you will see there are some patterns that exist. So here I just have 2 examples of patterns that exist in past simple irregular verbs. Okay, so have a look here. You've got buy, bought, bring, brought, teach, taught, think, thought, catch, caught. Okay, so here there are 2, teach and think. Sorry, teach and catch. They have an A, but the pronunciation, the ought pronunciation is the same. It's bought, brought, taught, thought, caught. Okay, you can make it bought, brought, taught, thought, caught. Okay, and then another type of pattern, you've got sell, sold, tell, told. And again, the O occurring in these examples: break, broke, speak, spoke, wake up, woke up, freeze, froze. Okay, so all of them have an O. So it's a good idea to try and find patterns in the different verbs. And you have to do it because it has to be your idea of a pattern, not my idea. Okay, because all this helps your memory. Okay, all right, so now we are going to look at some practice. Okay, so just have a look at these sentences, listen to the pronunciation. All right. I went to Paris last May. Yesterday I left the house very early. My teacher said my work was excellent. Her hair was very long, so she went to the hairdresser's. He was very tired when he got home. Okay, so here you can see just some things. For example, in sentence 1, I went to Paris last May. Notice the pronunciation. You've got I went to Paris last May. Now listen to the pronunciation. I went to Paris last May. I went to Paris last May. So we don't say I went to Paris last May. We actually kind of make a long T. I went to Paris last May. I went to Paris last May. I went to Paris last May. Okay, and another comment. In the last sentence, he was very tired when he got home. Get home is the same as arrive. Okay, the verb get has lots of different meanings, and in this course and in the other courses offered by Perfectly Spoken, you will see different meanings of the verb get. has a lot of meanings, but one of the meanings is to arrive. So here he was very tired when he got home. Okay, so now we're going to look very quickly at past simple negative with irregular verbs. Okay, so let's have a look. Past simple negative. So we've got with the regular verb. We did this in lesson 8. I travelled a lot. I didn't travel a lot. So travelled in negative, we use the auxiliary verb didn't, which is do in the past. Okay, negative. I didn't travel a lot. And remember, we use the infinitive. Now look, yesterday I went to the supermarket. In negative, yesterday I didn't go to the supermarket. So you can see here that it's exactly the same as with regular verbs. We use didn't and the infinitive. So it's very easy. Didn't and the infinitive. I didn't have breakfast. I didn't go to the supermarket. He didn't phone me. I didn't eat a lot. He didn't like my pizza. Okay, lots and lots and lots and lots of different examples. But it's easy. You just have to remember to use the auxiliary because it's okay when you're studying. You go, oh yes, okay. I didn't go. Yes, fantastic, fantastic. But when you're speaking, I find my students, when they're speaking, they forget to say, no, I went to the supermarket. You're like, oh, I didn't go to the supermarket. So when you're speaking, remember, 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 remember. Okay? All right. Now we are going to look very quickly at questions. Okay? All right, so let's have a look here. You walked to work. Question. Again, we use the auxiliary verb. We use the auxiliary verb. Okay, so we've got you walked to work. Did you walk to work? So again, we've got here the infinitive. Well, with regular and irregular verbs, it's the same. Okay, you went to the supermarket. Did you go to the supermarket? Did you went? No. Did you go to the supermarket? And the short answers would be yes, I did. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. No, I didn't. Not, did you go to the supermarket? Yes, I went. No. Well, sometimes it's okay, but usually the short answers is yes, I did. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. No, I didn't. Okay? All right. Oof, lots of information. Okay, so now I'm going to give you some questions, right? Yeah, there'll be regular, maybe irregular, maybe regular verbs, who knows? But I want you to answer the questions. You can answer them in your head or you can write the answers. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. It's your decision. Okay, but try to answer the questions. Okay, so now I will show you the questions. And here are the questions for you. Where were you yesterday at 7 o'clock in the morning? Where were you yesterday at 7 o'clock in the morning? For example, yesterday at 7 o'clock in the morning, I was on the train. Okay. What time did you have lunch yesterday? What time did you have lunch yesterday? So, of course, you have to use the past simple verb. So, I had lunch at 4:30 yesterday. Very late, 4:30. Where did you go at the weekend? Where did you go at the weekend? For example, at the weekend, I went to Tibidabo. Now, Tibidabo is a place here in Barcelona. So at the weekend, I went to... Who did you speak to yesterday? Who did you speak to yesterday? So, for example, yesterday I spoke to a lot of people. I spoke to my children. I spoke to my students. I spoke to my colleagues. I spoke to my mother on the phone, and I spoke to the woman in the supermarket, and I think that's it, maybe. Okay, I spoke to a lot of people. Who did you speak to yesterday? Did you see the news yesterday? Did you see the news yesterday? Me? Yesterday I didn't see the news. No, I didn't. I was very, very busy, like very, very, very busy, and I didn't see the news. No. Did you see the news yesterday? I didn't. Okay, and what time did you have dinner yesterday? What time did you have dinner yesterday? I had dinner at, I think, at 9 o'clock or 9:30. Yes, I had dinner at 9 o'clock or 9:30. I can't remember exactly. What time did you have dinner yesterday? Okay, so it's good to look at those questions and maybe write the answers. You can write the answers, and it will help you to remember the meaning and the form. Okay, and you have to remember, you have to write something true. Don't invent. No, to write something true, because then the information goes into your brain better. Okay? All right. So let's have a look now. Now we will do a listening. Okay, so I'm just going to talk to you, and I just want you to listen and relax and see what you can understand. Okay? All right. So, okay. Okay, my grandmother. I'm going to talk about my grandmother. This is my mother's mother. Okay? My grandmother isn't alive now. She died a long time ago. This is a bit of information about her life. So my grandmother had a very different life to me. She was born in South London, and she had lots of sisters, lots. She didn't have any brothers, but she had 7 sisters. She lived in a very small house in South London, and her parents didn't have a lot of money. My grandmother, when she was an adult, she didn't work. She didn't work when she was an adult. Many women didn't work in the 1930s. My grandmother was born in 1910. 1910, yeah, so a long time ago. And many women didn't work in the 1930s, so when she was an adult. My grandfather was a baker for London Transport. He was an amazing baker. Oh, he was an amazing baker. And he made delicious bread and cakes for us. I remember that, yes. But my grandfather died when I was 10. Yeah, so a long time ago, many years ago. Okay, so let's have a look at the text and just read and relax. My grandmother had a very different life to me. She was born in South London. She had lots of sisters. She didn't have any brothers, but she had 7 sisters. She lived in a very small house, and her parents didn't have a lot of money. My grandmother didn't work when she was an adult. Many women didn't work in the 1930s. My grandfather was a baker for London Transport. He was an amazing baker, and he made delicious bread and cakes for us. Okay, so we'll look at the text again. I'm going to highlight the past simple verbs, but first, you look. Can you identify the past simple verbs? Okay, let's have a look at them. All right, so had, was born, had, didn't have, had, lived, didn't have, didn't work, was, didn't work, was made. Okay, so do you see how much information you can give knowing the past simple? It's fantastic. It's really, really useful. Okay, I'm going to give you one more listening now, so this listening was kind of related to a past life. Now I'm going to do a very normal type of conversation that we have every day. Okay, so this is just talking about a past situation, very, very common past situation. Okay, so just listen and relax, see what you can understand. Okay, so this text is about yesterday. Okay, yesterday, because we spend a lot of time talking about yesterday. Dun, dun. Okay, so yesterday I got up at 6 o'clock, I had a shower, and I left the house at about 7:15. I got the train to work and I did a class. Some students arrived very late because there was a problem with the trains. At lunchtime, I got the train back to Barcelona and I went to another class, and after that I went to my children's school to pick them up and we came home. We had dinner at about 8 p.m. Well, they had dinner, I didn't. And we all went to bed at about 9:30. I was very tired. Okay, so have a look at the text. Yesterday I got up at 6 o'clock, I had a shower and I left the house at about 7:15. I got the train to work and I did a class. Some students arrived very late because there was a problem with the trains. At lunchtime, I got the train back to Barcelona and I went to another class. And then after that, I went to my children's school to pick them up and we came home. We had dinner at about 8 p.m. and we all went to bed at about 9:30. I was very tired. Okay, so now I'm going to highlight for you the verbs in the past. And there you can see, so past simple is very useful. And you'll see we use the same verbs again and again and again. Right, so now we're going to do a different type of practice. You need pen and paper, and I'm going to dictate some sentences for you. And I will say them 2 or 3 times, but at normal speed, right? So clearly, but not very, very slowly, or very, very quickly. No, normal. All right? And I want you to write them down. Are you ready? Have you got your pen and your paper or your notebook? Okay. All right, so dictation. So number 1, last summer I went to Paris. Last summer I went to Paris. Okay, last summer I went to Paris. Number 2, yesterday I didn't go to work because I was ill. Yesterday I didn't go to work because I was ill. Okay, number 3. My grandmother had 7 sisters. My grandmother had 7 sisters. My grandmother had 7 sisters. Number 4. Last year, my parents came to Barcelona. Last year, my parents came to Barcelona. Last year, my parents came to Barcelona. Number 5. I spoke to my colleagues via Skype yesterday. I spoke to my colleagues via Skype yesterday. I spoke to my colleagues via Skype yesterday. Okay. Number 6. We had lunch in an Italian restaurant. We had lunch in an Italian restaurant. Okay. We had lunch in an Italian restaurant. We had lunch in an Italian restaurant. Okay. Right. So now I'll put the sentences on the screen and you can check your answers. Okay. There we are. Let's have a look. Okay, so we've done a lot of work today and it's been a very long lesson. So just one extra little thing and that's it. And then we'll be finished for the day. Okay? Right, so here, just a quick test. Have a look at the sentences and see if you can put the verb into the correct past form. Okay? I suggest you pause the video to do this activity. Okay, now I will show you the answers. I got up very early this morning. In 1997, I came to Barcelona. We had bread and cheese for breakfast. They didn't have lunch until 4 o'clock. My colleague was ill last week. We weren't at the restaurant when the incident happened. Okay, so that was a very, very full lesson. We looked at lots of different things. There is one more thing, but it's about the use of really. But because time is going, this section, the really, I will put in lesson 10 in the review lesson, okay? So let's have a look at what we did in this class. Lots of things. Right, so we looked at past simple verb to be, past simple affirmative, irregular verbs, the most common irregular verbs, and a reminder of negatives and questions. So that was a very good lesson. Thank you very, very much for everything. I hope that you have the opportunity to practice, and I will see you in lesson 10, which is a review lesson. Okay, so thank you very much. Take care. Okay, bye.